All right, we're going to get started here. A little bit of ground to cover here, and then hopefully we'll have time for a little Q&A. So, all right, welcome to my class on surfing with Safari on the Mac. We're primarily going to focus on the Mac. I like to keep these to about an hour or so, and if I open it up to the other devices, it would get a little bit longer. And not that I want to get into a lot of detail, but there's just a lot that you can do. So I want to cover everything we can do with the Mac, which means eventually I will. I think I do have them scheduled. I am going to be doing also Safari on the iPad and iPhone. So those are going to be in the future. So, but today we're primarily going to focus on the Mac. Also, I do want to mention that I am using Mac OS Ventura. Now, most of the features, in fact, for the most part, most of the features that I'm going to be covering will work on older versions of Mac OS. So I'll try to point out anything that I know that is different in Mac OS Ventura, but there really isn't too much outside, I think, tab groups or something like that, or shared tab groups, and I'm just going to brush on that. But for the most part, everything that I'm going to talk about is going to be available on all your older Mac OSs. So, surfing with Safari on the Mac. Now, let's go and take a look at what we're going to be looking at here. So what we're, a little outline here, what we're going to look at is, what is Safari? And how does it differ from Chrome or even Firefox, Edge? Why would I use Safari over top of the others, and vice versa? Why would you use the others over top of Safari? We're also going to take a look at the interface, just get ourselves familiar with the different tools that Safari has. We're not going to go into great detail because after that, we can start focusing on some of the detail of that. This includes tabs and tab groups, how we can manage our bookmarks, including favorite bookmarks. Favorite bookmarks, I don't really use bookmarks, but I use favorite bookmarks, which is a subset folder of it. And I'll show you how that all works, because I think it really works well for me. How to view your browsing history, as well as a quick look at reading lists in reader mode. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on reading lists in reader mode because I just did a class on those a few weeks ago. So I'll just kind of brush on those. And if anybody wants to learn more about it, take a look at my site and go to the classes and look at the past classes. You'll see it there. Pretty powerful stuff, reading list and reading mode. So I have a whole hour on those things. So then we're going to look at how we can have Safari remember our usernames and passwords, and we're just going to stick with iCloud Keychain, not 1Password or anything like that. It's pretty much what I use, and it's pretty simple to do. So I'll show you how you can turn that on. We're also going to look at how we can download and manage Safari extensions. Extensions can extend the feature set of Safari. How we can customize Safari's start page, and then we'll look at more customizations within Safari settings or preferences. And if I don't remind me towards the end. I'm going to show you one of my favorite tips. I forgot to put it in here, and that is something I've kind of brushed on in a couple of my AMAs, how you can find stuff within a page in Safari, and it is something that I use on a daily basis. When you pull up a web page and you need to search for something. In fact, when I was doing the research for this and what the difference between Chromium and all that, how did I find out? I went to a Wikipedia and I did a search within the web page. And I forgot to put it on here, but it's something that I do use on a daily basis. So hopefully I'll remember to tell you about that, show you how that works. Very simple, but pretty powerful stuff. So that's what we're going to be covering. I am also putting this out on YouTube. And I did allow this, public to join this, so I'll just do a real brief thing of who I am for those who are new. I'll make this short for everyone else that knows who I am. I'm Dan Wasink. I have over 30 years publishing. That is both magazine and online publishing. I did go to Stanford University for a couple of summers. They had a publishing course over there. I'm also a former Apple genius, worked about 3 years at an Apple store, and I was hired in directly as a genius. That does not mean I have the IQ of a genius, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm owner of Dan's Tutorials. Dan's Tutorials is my site where I have over 1,800 videos. It might be up to 1,900 now. I do try to put something out on a regular basis. And in a lot of cases, it's daily. Just a short little video here and there every day. I also host online classes and webinars, as you can see, like this. And you can find more information over at danstutorials.com. It is a memberships supported site, although most of this stuff is free. I just ask that if you like what you see, help support a small business. That's what I am. It's just me, my wife, in the other room working at her. She does online stuff with Susan G. Komen. So, just a couple here that kind of doing what we want to do. So, and that's only with your support. So, all right, enough about me. Let's get back to while we're here. So what we're, excuse me, I do have this still persistent cough. Doctor's appointments going on, blah, blah, blah. No, that's another story. So what is Safari and how does it differ from Chrome and others? We have Opera out there, not so popular anymore, but it used to be. Microsoft Edge, and then, of course, we have Mozilla Firefox. So we have all of these different browsers. What's the difference between them? And why would I use one over top of the other? So let's get down to, what is or what drives the engine of these different browsers. So the first thing we're going to look at is web engines. With web engines, basically this is, oops, I wasn't supposed to go that far fast. Okay, so there's basically three different web engines out there, three big ones. We have WebKit. WebKit is what Safari is based off of. This was developed by Apple, and it eventually went on to be open source. And it's basically what renders when my website creates code, the engine can translate that code and then just show you something on the screen. So it's kind of like what drives that that renders that website. So Safari came out with WebKit. Well,
yeah. I hate to interrupt, but you're not in full screen mode, and we can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do that. I did not share my screen, so thank you very much. How's that? Thank you. All right, so Safari uses WebKit. This is this is Apple's engine that they developed. Then what happened is Chromium came out. Chrome was not really happy with how Apple was doing the open source and all that. So what they did is they came out with a fork. So it's still based kind of off of WebKit, but it started out as a WebKit project. But Chromium is an open source project, and this is what drives Google Chrome, Opera, and Microsoft Edge. So this is why when you download an extension for Chrome, this is why you can put it on Edge. This is why you can put it in Opera, because all those browsers use the same engine, so they can all use the same extensions. Apple has their own extensions, which I'll talk about as a separate subject, and you can't typically put a Chrome extension into Safari and vice versa. And then we have the third one, Mozilla. Mozilla, which develops Firefox, uses an engine called Gecko. So we have these three engines. Why would I want to use one over top of the other? That's probably the biggest question. And why do I use one over the top of the other? I'm a Safari fan, although I do use Chrome. All right. The biggest difference between these is WebKit, Safari, and this is what Apple touts. WebKit is known for its speed. It's a fast web engine. You give it something, it just renders it fast. So that's what it's known for. It's also known for its efficiency, which Chrome is not known for. If you have a laptop and you're using Chrome, if you switch over to Safari, it's almost guaranteed that you will get better, longer battery life with Safari. Chrome is not known to be efficient. So Safari, using WebKit, is known for its speed and efficiency. So why would you want to use Chrome? A lot of developers use Chrome. And it has a wide support because developers use it. It has a wide support for all these extensions. This is why I have to use it. As I mentioned before we got started, I'm moving more into the YouTube arena. So there's different tools that I can use to monitor my YouTube page and things like that. And the only way that I can do that is by using a Chrome extension. So I can't use these tools in Safari. I have to use them because some developer or the developers, basically Chrome is a little bit more forthright. It's Google, right? They're a little more forthright in, oh yeah, we'll let you share that. They're not focused on the privacy. Well, in this case here, with some of these extensions, they're just like, here, you can go and do that. So there's just a ton of extensions, but you pay the price. They're slower. It will, if you're on a laptop, you will, and Google has admitted this. It's a couple of years ago. You will get longer battery life if you use Safari. Gecko is known for its flexibility and ability to render complex web applications. So it can draw some really wild, like my wife, does some web stuff for Susan G. Komen, and a lot of her team use Firefox. And she just told me this story a couple weeks ago where, when she's developing something or, she makes little web pages or whatever for them, and you're supposed to test them on all the devices. Well, some other people don't necessarily test. All they do is test it in Firefox. It looks good. But then when you put it over to Safari, it doesn't work. That's because that's what Mozilla is known for. They're known for just being able to render complex web applications. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't use that. So if you solely use Firefox for testing, well, you're going to get different results based on real life. So I don't know too many people that actually use Firefox. I know a couple people. But primarily Chrome and Safari, and probably Chrome, of course, has the edge, especially in the Windows world. If you do use Chrome, side note, maybe Edge is really good and Brave is really good. They're both Chromium. I really hear good things about Microsoft Edge. So, you might want to check that out. You can use all the same extensions. It's using the same engine. It's just more efficient. All right. The last note I have on here is all browsers, kind of interesting, all browsers on the iPhone and iPad are all WebKit. Even if you download download Chrome, it is going to be a WebKit engine. So everything that I just told you is really for desktop only. You download Microsoft Edge on an iPhone, you're getting WebKit. Now, this could possibly change in the future. Europe is forcing this change, which is actually a good thing because eventually it gets to the point where everything's going to be WebKit and there's no competition. And then all of a sudden, these browsers get a little bit lazy. So, this could be a good thing for Apple to open it up. The rumor is that they're going to be opening it up in the next year or two to other engines. So then you could really get a true Chrome experience and possibly even use all those extensions on your iPhone or even iPad. Maybe not so much on the iPhone, but it sure would be nice to use them on the iPad. So we might see a change in that down the road. But right now, iOS is WebKit only. So it's just a skin, let's just say. All right, so that's a little bit about the web engines and what goes on behind the scenes and why you may want to use one over top of the other. Now, my primary thing is I use Safari 90% of the time. The only time that I use Chrome is basically when I'm looking at my YouTube stuff. It really works well for me. In the past, it used to not render pages so well, and I'm going way back. But now it's fine, and I really have not had any problem with it. All right, so let's go on to what do I have next here? It did not show me. All right, now let's take a look at Safari's. Does anyone have any questions? Now we're going to actually switch over to my Mac. So does anyone have any questions on any of that before we go over to the Mac and actually take a look at Safari and what we can do with it?
Yeah, is DuckDuckGo?
DuckDuckGo is a Chromium. It's based off of Chrome. But it has the privacy built in it, much like Brave and even Edge. You can really use any one of those. DuckDuckGo is a good browser too. You know, so Chrome, Google Chrome. We all know how Google is, how they make their money, you know, through advertising. So they're tracking everything. So there's a rumor is it's just a lot of code that's going along inside of Chromium, which is why they're not that efficient. They don't focus on building a good browser. They focus on you know, how they can track you, and you know, they've even gotten in trouble for, I want to turn this tracking off, and when you turn it off in Chrome, it doesn't actually turn it off, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, we forgot to turn that on, you know, kind of thing. They have a, you know, we all have to remember where they make their money, and you know, Brave, Edge, and DuckDuckGo, you can basically use those for everything that you use Chrome for. So, all right, let's go and take a look at Safari's interface and where the tools are. Let's get a little comfortable with Safari. So I'm going to go over to my Mac here, and we're going to take a look at Safari. So I have Safari in my dock here. And when you first open it up, what it does is it opens up to a start page. And we're going to look at how we can customize this later on. It's a separate bullet. But we can customize what is shown on this start page. Up at the top, we have our toolbar, and we can customize this toolbar just like any other Mac toolbar for the most part. Drag tools up and down and all that. I'll talk a little bit more about customization when we get to that slide. Over on the left, we have a little sidebar. Click on this, and we have our standard sidebar. We have our different tab groups. And then down at the bottom is where we find our bookmarks, our reading list, shared with you, and iCloud tabs. If you use an iCloud, when you open up a page in Safari on the iPhone, as long as you're signed in with the same account, what it'll do is it'll show you that same page in Safari on the Mac. You can view what you are looking at on the iPhone. And you notice that we do not have history here. When I talk about history, history is up here in the menu bar. I think that has changed. If you're using an older version of Safari, you may find it here. And I wish it still was here, or I wish they'd move it there. Maybe it wasn't, but maybe I just always wanted it there. But history is up in the menu bar. But basically, this little sidebar gives you access to all of your different information here. Now, the interface here that I'm talking about, being that I'm using macOS Ventura, as I mentioned in the beginning, this will change on older versions of macOS. But for the most part, you just have to hunt for where the bookmarks are or whatever. Once you find that, all the other, the way that it works hasn't necessarily changed. They just move little pieces around, you know, that kind of thing. Tried to organize it a little bit better. Okay, when we're looking at our toolbar here, the default tool set, we have back and forth. We all know how this works. I go to a website, it takes me there. I want to go back, I click on the arrow, it takes me back. If I do go to a website, and let's go and take a look at another page, I'll take another look, and I'm just clicking around here. If I click on these arrows here, it just takes me back, or what I can do is click and hold. And then what I'm able to do is select which page in my history that I can go to. And if I do go back, guess what I can do here? I can select which one. So these are forward, back. So it's linear. This is where I went first, then I went here, and then I went here, and you can go to each one of those just by clicking and holding on that. We have our privacy report. This was introduced a couple of years ago, and it's grayed out right now because I do not have a web page open. So let's go back over to my web page here. You're going to see that I can click on this. And with the privacy report, what I'm able to do is see how many trackers are on this page. So this Rob report has 41 trackers following me. So they're kind of monitoring, where I'm going and all that. And of course, what do they do with that? They sell it to advertisers, and that's how they track you. If you want to see what trackers are, you can click on it, and then you can actually see all of the different trackers. So there's Amazon here is tracking me. So if I click on an ad, guess what's going to happen when I go to Amazon? I will probably see something that I was looking at on this page. That's how they do that. So you can see we have a lot of different trackers here. Of course, Google Analytics, Google, those are standard. That's part of Google Analytics. Hotjar, so basically with Hotjar, what they are able to do on their end is kind of follow where I'm going on this page. So then if they see me looking around for something, now they won't actually see me doing it, but they can track my mouse, and kind of hopefully what it's used for is to build a better website. But basically all this stuff is built into that page. Let's take a look at another one. So we're going to go back to our start start page, and we're going to let's go to Yahoo. Yahoo has 18 trackers. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty low. They're always going to be a tracker, but that's pretty low. That's not bad at all. But that's how you can see how many trackers there are. Over to the right of that, we have our address bar. This is what's called an address bar. So when I click on this, what I'm able to do is type in what website address I wanted to go to, or by default, it uses Google search. So what I can do is type in here Dan's Tutorials, and you're going to see by default uses Google search. I'll show you how you change that later on. All I have to do is just tap in here, and it's showing me all of the results here. Now, what I see a lot of people do here is they will start typing. So let's go back to Dan's Tutorials, and you can see that it's pulling up a top hit. Well, this one is selected. I didn't select this. So as I type out, what it's doing is it's going based on my history and all that, you want to go here. And really, all I have to do from this point on is hit return, and it'll go to this site. So if I go and type in Yahoo, all I have to do, even though I typed in, right at the top here, YAAH, the top hit here, if I hit return, it takes me over to that. So a lot of people, what they will do, here's a good tip, is they will continue typing out that address. You don't have to do that. I can just go Dan's Tutorials here, and it pulls it up. I can just hit return at this point. I don't have to type the whole thing out. I've seen a lot of times where people just continue typing because they feel like they have to type that in exactly. You don't have to type it in exactly. It knows your history. Just hit return, and it'll take you there. If you want to refresh the page, you can do that. And basically what this does is this just reloads the page. When you go to a site, what it'll do is it'll cache it, and if the site changes, maybe there's new news articles, you've been sitting there for a while, or you're monitoring a sports score. And a lot of times what like ESPN and all them will do, what they used to do is it would refresh on its own every 15 seconds. They built this in. Well, now they use Ajax and some other stuff, but basically what you're doing is just reloading that web page. It's like closing it out and then opening it back up. We keep going to the right, we can share this. So all I have to do is just click on this, and I can go and share this web page. And then we have our tabs. We'll talk about tabs here, but this will just open up a new tab. So instead of opening up a new window in a browser, a new browser and a new window, we can open it up in a new tab. And then we can see all of our different tabs here. So that's the basics of how Safari works, as well as other browsers. They're going to be in different locations, but they all kind of have these same tools. Outside of this might be a Apple exclusive, the Apple privacy kind of thing, because that's what they're big on. So basically, if you just go up to this top toolbar, we do have a few more tools. When I go up to View here, what I am able to do is show my favorites bar. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I can show the status bar. Status bar is always nice because it tells you what website you're on. So when I go up here, if we look, I can't move my cursor down, but if you look in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see I'm at Dan's Tutorials news feed. Remember in the past, what we were able to do is see what web page we were on here. I'm not at Dan's Tutorials. I'm at Dan's Tutorials news feed. That's the page that I'm on. If I go to, let's go to upcoming events. If we look up in the URL, it just says Dan's Tutorials. Well, that's not where I'm actually at. But if we look, you're going to see, where did it, come on, it should show me down here. You're going to see it says events calendar down at the very bottom. Again, I can't bring my cursor down there. So if you ever want to see where you're at or when you hover over top of something, you can see I'm hovering over this link here, right? Well, look, I can see at the bottom where that link is going to take me. So if you're ever curious on where a link will take you, turn on the status bar. And it's not going to show you all the time. So right now there's nothing there because my cursor isn't over top of anything. But when I go to this one here, it's going to take me to that particular event. Let's go to Yahoo. This is really good for like listing type pages. So this one here from Business Insider, when I go and hover my cursor over top, again, I can't show it, but it's going to take me to finance, news, Apple, emails, staff, blah, blah, blah. But I can actually see if it's going to take me to an outside site. This one here is going to take me to beep.gemini.yahoo, and it has all this tracking information down at the bottom. But that's because this is an ad. But I can see that just based on moving my cursor over top. So that's where the status bar can come in handy. All right, so that's an overview of it. Let's take a look at a few of these features in more detail. We're first going to take a look at tabs and tab groups. Tab groups was introduced 2 or 3 years ago, I believe. So let's first look at tabs. So when you open up Safari, it opens up in a new window. And if I wanted to open up a new window, pretty basic stuff here. We can see I have that one there, this one there, 2 different windows. It's all nice and dandy, but it sure would be nice if you have a lot of browsers like I do, you're going to end up with a lot of different windows. And how do you get to all of the different windows? You have to go up to Window here, or you can use Mission Control and select your window. But what I do is when I open up a new browser, I will open it up in a new tab. So I'm going to close all this again. And instead of opening up a new window with Command N, I'm going to use Command T. When I use Command T, what it does is opens up in a new tab. So this is the same window. It's just a new tab. And I can also just go up to the plus here. So now I have 4 tabs open. And each one of these, let's go ahead and do that same thing. Each one of these is a separate tab, but it's all in the same window. So if I go and move this window, all those tabs move. Now, if you wanted to bring this back out to a window, you can do that, which sometimes you might want to do. You might want to have these side by side. Maybe you're doing some research on something, and you do not want to sit here and go back and forth like this. Well, what you can do is just click and drag, and you're going to see that turns into a little thumbnail there. And when I let go, it is now a separate window. And if I want to put it back into a tab, I can do that as well. Select it, and I believe it's under here, merge all windows. What this is going to do is put that back into my tab here, my one window. Although that didn't work. That's what it's supposed to do. It looks like I have to refresh. These are all blank pages. Yeah. Well, that's what it's supposed to do. I don't really use that too much, merging of windows, but I'll show you what I do. Let's quit. This is really how I go through the day. Let's say I wanted to open up all of these. I'm at we'll just go to Yahoo. So what I want to do is read this, and I could click on it, but then it goes to that page, right? Well, I want to keep looking at all these to see what I want to read. Now, I could put them into the reading list, which I'll mention in a little bit, but this is how I generally work. If I hold down the Command key, when I click on this, what's going to happen is it's going to open up this page, excuse me, it's going to open up this page in a tab behind this window. So it'll make more sense once I show you how to do this. This is a good productivity tip. So I want to read this. All I'm going to do is hold down the Command key with my thumb. I want to read this. I'm still holding down the Command key. I want to read this. Formula One driver chases thieves in his Ferrari. Sure. Let's see what that is. And I always try to make sure I'm not clicking on an ad. This is an ad, so I'll stay away from that one. I want to read this. And let's go with this one here. So basically, just by clicking on them while holding the Command key, look what happened. Open up all those tabs. So now what I'm able to do is close this one, Command W. I read this. And to advance in Safari, all you have to do is hit the space bar. So I'm going to hit the space bar. And it goes up. When I get to the end of the article, Command W, space bar to go through it. I'll show you in my overview here how that works, hopefully. So as you can see, I'm just going to Command W, and now I would just have my thumb here and I would just go space to read the article. Once I get done, Command W, space, read the article, Command W, and now I've just read all of those different articles. So that command, when you click on something, is a big productivity booster. Like in the morning, I will have 20 links, and I'll just kind of go through which ones I want to read. All right. Any questions on that before we go into bookmarks? All right. Let's take a look at bookmarks. There's going to be another good tip in here. And a lot of these tips that I'm showing you are really stuff that I use on a daily basis. So it's little productivity tips that I found out that help me. So how do we manage our bookmarks? So go back into Safari here. So what you can do, and we all know how this works, this came from Netscape back in the day, with when we're browsing a page, and if we want to read it later, what we can do is we can bookmark it. And when we bookmark it, what it'll do is it'll go up into the bookmarks here, and you can always go back to it. So that's basically, you're just kind of like the old day of bookmarking it. And so I'll just go with this one here. I want to bookmark this. All I have to do is just go and add this as a bookmark. Where do I want to save it to? We'll talk about favorites here shortly. I'm just going to go to bookmarks here. So it's just going to save it in my bookmarks. And now you're going to see I have that article there. We all probably know how that works. Well, let's go and add another bookmark, and then I'll show you how you can organize these bookmarks. So we're going to go with this one here. And I'm going to add as a bookmark. So now I have those two pages there. So I would like to group these into a folder. In a lot of cases, what you might do is you might have 100 or 1,000 different bookmarks here because you just kind of put them in there as you're going. Oh, I want to save this page. Save it as a bookmark. But now you want to go back and organize them. So how do you organize these? Well, basically, you just go into Edit Bookmarks. And when you edit your bookmarks, you can see all of your different bookmarks here. So here they all are. And here's the address. You're going to notice that we have different folders. We'll get into tab groups here shortly. I missed tab groups when we were talking about tabs. We'll get back to that. So what we're able to do is put these into folders. So now when I go up under File here, what I can do, bookmarks. When I go up under bookmarks, I can add a bookmark folder. So I'm going to do that. We have this folder. Let's just call this Demo. And now all I need to do is just drag these over to that folder. So you can drag and drop once you get your folders in there. So now when we go up to bookmarks here, you're going to see I have my demo, and there are my 2 articles. So you just go and edit your bookmarks and drag and drop, add folders, remove folders. If I wanted to delete something, all I have to do is just select it, and I can hit the delete key and it'll delete it. Drag and drop to move them around. Let's look at one of my favorite things, favorites. This is one that I use. So we all have our bookmarks that we probably go to on a regular basis. It could be CNN, NPR, my site. We all have these bookmarks that we go to on a regular basis. And what you want to do is you want to have easy access to those. Well, you can do that by putting them into your favorites. This is a folder that Apple created, or Safari created, and what it does is it has different websites in here. And you can go and rearrange these. This is just another folder to Safari. But it's a special folder in regards, you can go here and show your favorites. So when I show this, you're going to see I have my favorites up here. It even has folders. So I have news here, click on it, and there's all my news articles. So this is what I have. If you were to look at my production computer, I have a folder. So I just went into my favorites here, and I created a new folder. So I select favorite. Oops, try it again. Try it again. Oh, I got to edit. Edit bookmarks. Go into favorites here. I'm going to add a folder. No, it didn't work. I'm going to drag and drop. So we'll call this daily. So these are the news sites that I go to, or whatever the sites. See if I have any appointments, anything like that. And I'll put it into my favorites here. So it's still just a folder in here. Now what I do is I go and put the stuff in there that I want. So let's go with Yahoo. We'll go with Bing. And we'll go with my favorite site, my site. So I have those 3 in there. Let's put Apple in there. So now I have those 4 sites in that daily. Okay, that's great. Now, in the morning, I can just go here and go to those. Or, in the morning, I go to open in new tabs. And when I select this, there they are in new tabs. And now I'm able to be like, oh, nothing new there, Command W, nothing new there, Command W, nothing new there, Command W, and kind of use that Command W trick. All right, next day comes along, open a new tabs. So you could have a morning tab, and if you have websites that you visit on a regular basis in the evening, create an evening tab, and then all you have to do is just put your websites in there, and you can have the same website, just create 2 different bookmarks. And you could have it in your morning routine, and you could have it in your evening routine. And all you have to do is just go to open new tabs, and it'll open up all those pages for you, and you can kind of go through those. That's how, literally what I do every morning. I go to a daily folder just like this, and it has probably about 20 different pages in it, some of them to my site so I can see, I monitor the traffic and, just make sure everything's all good. And other ones are news sites. My local newspapers in there, things like that. So that is my favorite trick with bookmarks. I do not use bookmarks hardly at all. But what I do use is these favorite bookmarks because I have easy access to them. And you can even take these and drag these around up here. But if you want to edit them, you go up to Edit Bookmarks. Any questions on bookmarks and favorites? I'm going to get back to tab groups if not. I skipped over that, probably because I don't use them.
And I've got a problem that I have with using my favorites.
Yeah?
I'm looking at one of my biggest favorites list has 485 items.
Woo! Okay.
And probably it goes down 4 or 5 levels of bookmarks.
Okay.
And I'm able to navigate that pretty well because I've organized it. But when I go, gee, have I created a bookmark for this? and I go into edit bookmarks and I search. As soon as I say search, it removes all structure and just shows me the results. So I can't find where that bookmark is.
Gotcha. So what you're talking about now here, it does tell me what folder it's in. Does that when I do a search?
Oh, okay.
So this is what Ward is talking about. When he went into search here, he wanted to make sure that he had didn't have that bookmark. Otherwise, you get into that duplicate world. And he couldn't, when it came back with the results, here's my Apple. You're going to see that. It does tell me where it is, what folder it's in. Now, it doesn't tell me, it doesn't give me the root structure. So if you have a couple of folders that are called the same, that's where you could run into a problem. But it does tell me that. I don't know if that's a Ventura thing. Are you using macOS Ventura?
Ventura, and I just did a search in that folder for the word beautiful, and it found 30 matches. And I can see my folders, but I don't have the structure.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna be able to see that. I'm looking here. Show, boom, edit, add. Looking to see if there's any column that we can add in there. With the Finder, what we're able to do is show and hide different columns. I do not see that here at all. Now, I don't have a quick answer for you. I know there used to be bookmarks, like duplicates, extensions. Maybe we can, when I show you extensions, maybe we can see if we can find an extension that might do that can extend the functionality. So, yeah, Linda, I see your hand is up. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Right. Would you go back to that home page of, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, go back to the home page of your Safari. Or when you first opened there. How did you get your favorites below the reading list to show?
We'll talk about that when we customize. I'll show you how you can customize this.
Oh,
So.
okay.
Yep, that's a bullet. All right, let's take a quick look at tab groups, and I'm going to make this a little bit quick because I don't use them and I don't really know that much about them. I haven't found a good function for them personally, and I try to base what I know, what I tell people based on my own experience. But basically, what we're able to do is create tab groups. I'm going to close all these. You're going to see tab groups here. So essentially what you can do is you can have a set of tabs open, you can have web pages that are tied to a specific tab group. So let's say that this all has to do with Apple. So what I want to do is put this into an Apple tab group. So I'm going to go new tab group with 5 tabs, these 5 tabs that I have here. And we'll call it, tab groups, Apple. Now what I'm going to do is go home here and let's go to Holland Sentinel. This is our local paper. And let's go with our brewing. This is a local brewery that I like to go to, so maybe I want to have them in there. Just kind of local stuff here. And now what I want to do is put these 2 tabs in another tab group. So I could go, where is it? Oh, they're in my home. So they're in my home tab group here. So I have home, and then I have Apple. So basically with tab groups, and this is why I don't use them because I get a little confused on them yet. But basically, I get the idea. But basically what I'm able to do is when I want to research Apple, I go to Apple tab group. Now I'm looking at all these different tabs within this one window in this group. Now I'm taking a break. Let's see what's going on in Holland. Maybe something's going on at our brewing. I go to home. And now I'm looking at just these 2. If I was at the school, we use Google services there. I can go and create, or I want to look at the school website. I can go and take a look at all these tab groups for the school. Okay, now I'm back into my office. I'm going to go back over to Apple, and here's all my Apple. So it allows you to change tab groups, or tabs, multiple tabs at the same time. Now the problem that I have with it is it doesn't save these. These aren't bookmarks per se. It's just a tab group. So I have my Apple tab group here, and I'm looking at Apple here. Okay, that's great. I'm done with this page. What do? I use Command W. I close it, right? That's just a habit I do. Well, guess what? It's no longer in this Apple tab group. So now, let's just say I close all of these. Now, okay, I'm at home looking at Our Brewing. Now I want to get back to my Apple tab group because that's where I have Apple and blah, blah, blah. Lo and behold, it's no longer there. Now what I could do is go over here and load them up in here. And now I have those in there. But I just wish that there was a quick way that I could save bookmarks associated to a tab group. I probably would use it more if I could do it that way. So in other words, I would like to say this daily should be over in a tab group over here. And when I open up that tab group, it's going to make sure that all those web pages are open. That's what I would like to see. But that's tab groups. Last year, what they did is they added shared tab groups. So what I'm able to do is share these tabs, these web pages within this group here with other people. So I could share this with Steve as an example, or I could share this with Chris. So what we'd be able to do is browse the web. So she'd be able to look at what I'm looking at. Now, we're not sharing the screen. Don't get me wrong. All we're doing is sharing a web page. I could say, hey, Chris, check out this web page. So I just go and add it to this tab group. When she goes into Safari on her computer, her iPad, her iPhone, she'd be able to see this new tab group along with any pages that I add to it. And she can do the same. She can add web pages to it, and then I'd be able to view those web pages. But if I take it out, it's going to be out on her end as well. So it's kind of a way that you could collaborate on different ideas. You're not sharing the screen. It's nothing like that at all, but it's just a quick way for me to say, hey, Steve, can you check this out? I put it in the tab group, and then Steve would be able to go and see that, something along that line.
You betcha.
You got it. See what Aaron Rodgers is up to. I could go and send that to him. Yeah. So that's what tab groups, a real rough overview of them. Does anyone here even use tab groups, just out of curiosity? Yeah, it's I
tried without success.
Exactly. I saw Deborah raise her hand.
Challenge you did.
Yeah, it's clunky, and I don't need it to be clunky. What's that, Deborah?
I do, but I find that I have then a lot of tabs open for all the different tab groups that I've got.
Yeah.
So I eventually want to close them because I don't want to keep that running.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it's hopefully maybe in the next version they are going to work on that. I know with Edge and Chrome, what we're able to do is have different profiles. That adds another level, and I'm hoping that Apple will do that as well. So basically, what we could do is sign into iCloud and one profile with my email address, and then I'd also be able to sign into a different iCloud because it's a different profile, maybe with my demo account, kind of thing. Edge, Chrome, they can do that. Safari can. I'm hoping that I think that would be more valuable than these tab groups. So that's tab groups. Told you I'd make that quick. All right.
I just started using them myself, Dan. I do presentations at a couple of different places. And
Yeah.
I send out a note of what I'm going to be presenting, and so I've been labeling the tab groups and setting up what I want to present, and so far it's working out for me.
Oh, great. I mean, I think, like I said, I think you just have to find a way to use it, and I just haven't found a way yet. So that's great that it works out for you. And maybe for me, what I would need to do, my biggest beef with it is, I just lost all these web pages, and maybe the way to do that is just go over here and open a new. it's a two-step process, but it would work, kind of thing. So then instead of having all of my, actually, I might try that. Here's going to be, go ahead.
Yeah, I put the dates on the tab group because,
Ooh,
you know, I label it with a date on when I'm gonna be doing that. And then when I get there, I'm like, oh, okay, it's this date here, and I just pull it up and I can go through all the tabs and figure out
Nice.
what I'm gonna present.
nice. That'll work good. Here's what I'm going to try to do. Like I said, I have that daily, like I say, up here. And in the morning, all of a sudden, you see here that I have all these, and I will just go like this. Maybe I have web pages open from the prior night, so I go like that. And now I have a lot of tabs open here. You can see all the tabs. So what I can try doing is creating a daily group, and then when I'm looking at my dailies, I would just go, let's do it. I would just go here, open a new tabs. Okay, I'm going back to work. I'll just go over here. Oh, I need to finish looking at my dailies. I can go back over here. I'll keep playing with it. All right. Thank you for how it's working for you. Okay, let's take a look at how we can view our history here, our browser history. So I've browsed a few different pages here, and the next thing that I would like to do is maybe find something that I went to in the past. Or you can easily do that just by going up to history here, and you're going to see all of your history. And this is in date order. Also, you're going to see that I can be like, oh, there's a page that I went to last week, Monday. So now what I'm able to do is go over here to Monday, and I can see that I went to Dolly too. Or what did I cover last week? So Thursdays are when I have my classes webinars, and you're going to see I have a lot of, because I use this computer on those days more so than on other days. So that's how you can quickly do it. But also what you're able to do is show all your history. With this, it's like editing the bookmarks, although you're not necessarily editing them, but you are able to view them, and you can actually see how many pages there are, and you can go back quite far. Here I'm going back to June 2. That's probably when I got this computer. It's about a year old, I dare say, getting close to a year old. If you want to clear your history, you can clear the history. You can set how far back you want to clear it. So here I can say clear for the last hour, or clear all my history. So you can do that as well. And you can search. So if you're looking for something, you can search. So I'll go Dolly. And there's all my pages that I searched on Dolly. Now, if you want to add a page as a bookmark, you can click on this, or you can open it up in a tab group. Sorry. I thought maybe you'd be able to add it as a bookmark. But you can open up a page into a tab group by control clicking on it. So that's how history works. If you do close pages, let's go ahead and close a few of these pages, and you're just like, oh man, I shouldn't have closed that. I want to reopen, some of those pages. What you are able to do is view, and somewhere in here, oh, here it is. Reopen all windows from the last session, so the last time you worked on it. I can also look at my recently closed windows and reopen any one of these, or I could just go and reopen my last closed tab. So you can reopen just by going up to the menu bar and selecting what you want to reopen. So, all right, let's, like I said, I'm going to breeze over this next one because I have a separate class on this that I gave a couple weeks ago. So we have our reading lists and reader mode. Reading lists are just another fancy thing for bookmarks, although there's a little bit more power with them. So if you are going to Yahoo here, and I'm just going to show you how it works. If you want to learn more, take a look at that class from a couple weeks ago. But basically, let's say I wanted to read this article here, but I don't want to read it now. What I can do is I can add it to my reading list. Now, a reading list is more or less a temporary bookmark. When you go and add a bookmark, it's going to keep that until you delete it. With a reading list, it will actually remove it or mark it as read and, kind of do some automation kind of things. So let's go ahead and add a few more in here. So I'm going to add that to my reading list. I can also click on a web page. So let's go to this web page. I don't want to read this now. I can go up to the share button here and add to reading list. But I will typically use my handy old control key, contextual menu, and add it to the reading list. So I've just added 4 pages to the reading list. So the reading list syncs across all your devices. So you can go to the iPad now and start reading these pages that I've read. Or on the Mac, I would just go up to my sidebar here, and down at the bottom, you're going to see reading list. And there are the pages that I just added. Right now, I am looking at all of my unread pages. So these pages I haven't read yet. So when I go and read an article, when I get to the bottom, it is going to mark that as read and skip to the next article. So you can just sit here and go. And as you can see, watch this list. This list is getting shorter and shorter as I'm reading these articles. It should be getting shorter. Now I'm on the Ford Mustang. Oh, there it is. You have to refresh it. So basically what you can do is it will automatically delete them from the unread. So then you don't have to go and delete them yourself. But it does keep them in your history. You do have all, so you can always go back and look at all of your pages that you've read. So that's a reading list. The reader view kind of goes on top of that. Let's go with this one here. And if I go up to this little article here, with articles, what we're able to do is strip out all of the different ads and like. And what we're also able to do when we control click on this is set it to use reader automatically on the site that you're on. So now anytime, if I select this, anytime I go to an article in Yahoo, what it'll do is it'll put it into reader mode and strip all that out. If you want to go back to the original article, maybe there's a video in there that's stripped out. It will strip out some stuff that probably shouldn't be. You can always just click on this and bring it back. So that's reader view and reader mode. 2 very powerful tools to help you read articles and get rid of all that different noise that you have there. All right. Have Safari remember your usernames and passwords. I'm not going to get into the whole password management kind of thing, but Safari is much like 1Password. 1Password does more. Safari is the basics. They just cover the basics. They'll remember your username and password. So when you go into a site, it'll automatically save it. It'll automatically suggest a strong password and save that kind of thing. And the way that we set that up is we need to go to our Safari settings or preferences. macOS Ventura, it's called settings. But either way, what we need to do is open up the second window here, and you're going to see passwords. Now, passwords and autofill are essentially, you can get to the same thing. So basically what you want to do is you want to have it remember your usernames and passwords. If I were to click on edit here, it's going to take me back over to passwords. So these two kind of work hand in hand. Now, if I were to enter my password, I'm not going to enter my password because then it kind of opens the door to where I possibly could expose some passwords in there. But basically what I'd be able to do is, well, let me do this. Take a look at my, that's not on. Oh, we're good. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so I entered in my password and now we can see all of my different passwords here. So if I wanted to look something up, do I have a demo one in here? I know I did. Yeah, I won't use one. But if I were to click on one of these, I think that is a fake one. But if I were to click on that, what I'd be able to do is look up that password. I could even put a note in there, what this is for. And you can search for that. The key to making this whole thing work is you just need to make sure that autofill usernames and passwords are on. I believe I have a few lessons on that, so if you want to learn more about that, maybe what I'll do is set up a class for that. But again, this is strictly iCloud keychain, nothing to do with 1Password or anything like that. So if you just need basic password management, it is built into the Mac and to Safari. It will not carry over to Chrome or because they each have their own password managers, which is an advantage of 1Password because then you can use the same password manager on all your different browsers. iCloud keychain, what we're looking at here is Safari only. So that is an advantage of something like 1Password. All right, let's get to where somebody asked customizing Safari's start page. So what you can do when you open up a page here is you can customize. This is Safari's start page. So I have here my reading list. Remember those little things that I added? This is where they are. I have my favorites. This is that favorite toolbar here. I also have articles that are shared with me. To customize this, what we do is we go down to the little settings here in the lower right-hand corner, and what we're able to do is set what we want to show here. So I could go with privacy suggestions. I can show the privacy report. I can change the background. And what I'm able to do is rearrange these. You can see I'm dragging them around. So I want to have my reading list at the top. And then I want to have, let's just go with frequently visited. And we'll go with favorites. So you can drag those around. And now you can see we have my reading list. Apparently I don't frequent a lot. Let's go with privacy report. We'll put that up so you can kind of see it. There's my privacy report. And then there's my favorites. Let's go and move my favorites back. Now my favorites are here. So that's how you can customize that. Basically, you just go down this little corner here, and you can select what you want to show. If you don't want to use the start page, you can actually just turn that off as well. So use the start page on all devices. What this will do is set the start page for all of your devices, but if we go to our settings here, new Windows open with the start page, I can actually turn that off if you don't want to have a start page. But what I would recommend doing, it is kind of nice, maybe a reading list there. Maybe, don't put everything in there. Just take out the things that you don't want to see and start out with a couple items, and then maybe you'll start using the start page, and then you can go and add more stuff to it down the road. So that's the start page. Let's take a look at a few other options here with customizing. Basically, what we can do when we go into our system, our Safari settings or preferences, we can actually customize quite a bit, including what search engine we want to use. Do we want to use the start page as I showed you? What page is it going to go to when you open up a new tab or a new browser? We can even open up a developer menu in there. So the way that we get to that is we just go to our Safari settings. Older versions of macOS will be preferences. And this hasn't changed. This is pretty much the same thing. We have a number of tabs across the top here. The general one allows us to set, obviously, the general settings. What does Safari do when it opens up? Opens up a new window. New windows start with what? Well, they're going to start in my start page, although I can go and change that to my home page or whatever I want, an empty page. New tabs, what do they start with? I just have it set to start page again. What is my home page? You may have noticed that when I went here, I could select a home page. Well, what is that home page? Well, that's where you set that. I can also remove history items after a specific period of time, so this keeps it clean. I have mine set for 1 year, so I won't have anything. Remember where it was set for June? After June, that history is going to start disappearing because I want to keep the history for 1 year. Favorites show my favorites. So maybe you don't want to do that. You could have it show my daily. So when I go here, what it's going to do is, eventually, if I were to quit, it's going to show me my daily stuff here. I like to have it as my favorites, so I'm just going to put it back here. But you can select a different folder that it shows. Where do your files download to? By default, it's downloads. I like to have that, so I just leave it there. And remove the download item list after 1 day. When you download something, there is a little icon that shows up here, and what you can do is go back and see what files you've downloaded. But in my case here, I'm only going to be able to do that for one day. Well, maybe what I would like to do is select it manually. So now I'm going to have to clear it myself. I'm going to leave it at one day. And then open save files after downloading. So you may have noticed that if you, when you download like a zip, you don't see this too often. When this is turned on, what it's going to do is automatically open up that file. Developers traditionally don't like that, so they'll turn that off. We have our tab settings. We can set how the tabs show, separate or compact. This is when Safari or Apple was experimenting with their Safari a year and a half ago. Open pages in tabs and automatically instead of in a new window. So you have a few different settings. This is one that you want to study. I love key commands. There's that lovely command key. So the command, when I command click, what it's going to do is open the link in a new tab. If I command shift click, it's going to open a link in a new tab, but make it inactive. So that, little things, but like say, if you go to CNN, I'll just pick on them, and you click on, there's might be 10 articles that you want to read. You can use this command key trick to sit there and open them, and then you can go and read them at a later time. So these little tricks here come in really handy. You autofill passwords. We have our search. What search engine do I want to use? Do I want to include search engine suggestions? Remember when I searched for Dan's tutorials? This is why I suggested it. I can also, the smart search field, enable, there's preload, top hit. I just leave all those on. We have security. Safari is really actually probably more secure than other browsers. But warn when you hit a fraudulent website. Of course you want that on. It's on by default. Privacy. Website tracking. Do you want to prevent cross-tracking? It's not going to turn it off because those marketers are pretty darn smart. But what it can do is it can prevent it. Hide IP address trackers. So IP address, if you gave me your IP address, I'd be able to tell where you are, almost down to what city block or even further or closer. So if you want to hide your IP address, you can do that as well. Block all cookies. I would say never turn this on. Websites use cookies, like my website. When you log in, it sets a cookie that you're logged in. If you don't use cookies, you're not going to be able to log into my site. I don't use cookies. It's not like I transfer them to anything else. Cookies are local on your thing, and it's just helps websites manage people that go to that site. So it can determine, oh, they've been here before. Oh, I've already showed them this. I'm going to show them, something else. So I generally say don't turn that off because you're going to be more frustrated when you're visiting websites than not. We also have our website. Oh, so this is different reader view, which websites are using reader view. A lot of options in here. Page zoom. I can have it automatically zoom in and out based on specific pages. Do I want Safari to access my camera? Screen sharing, location, which websites have access to my location. So you have a lot of different information in here, and you can go and add and remove those as needed. Extensions. I did not see my slide for that, so we're going to get into that next. But this is where you can see all your extensions. This is like Chrome extensions kind of thing. And then we have advanced. In the search field, remember I showed you up here, it just said Dan's Tutorials, even though I was at a longer, if you like to see that full URL address in that address bar, this is the way it used to work years ago for browsers, you can turn that on, and then you're going to be able to see the full address up in the address bar instead of just the top level domain is what they call it. Reading list. Save your articles offline automatically. So when I click on this, when I add an article to that reading list, remember that reading list of the automated bookmarks, I guess you could say? Well, when you add an article now, or when I add an article now, what it is going to do is automatically download that article. So even if I'm not on the web, I'll still be able to read that article. So it downloads it locally to your device, and then you can read it without being on the internet. So that's a look at the settings and how you can customize. As you can see, there's a lot of different customizations in here. You can even go, if you really want to geek out, show the develop menu. And now when we go up here, I can really go in here and just take a look at, you're not going to break the site. So you can go in here and play to your heart's content. But the one that I do use for my site is, this site looks good on my Mac, but I wonder what it looks like on an iPhone or an iPad. An iPhone that is in landscape, or I mean an iPad that is in landscape mode, or maybe an iPad mini. How do I know what this website is going to look like on all those devices? Go up to develop, enter responsive design mode. Sites are typically responsive now to the device, that's what they call it. And there it is on an iPhone 8. Let's see what it looks like on an iPad mini, 7.9 inch. Okay, that looks okay. I'd like to see what it looks like portrait. Click on it again. Oh, there it is in split view. Click on it again. There it is in split view. And there it is in portrait. So I'm able to kind of see what my site looks like on all the different devices and make sure that everything just kind of works and does its thing for each device. That's how I use that develop mode. I don't use it for too much more. I'm not that much of a geek to really go into the nitty-gritty there. All right, I didn't have a slide on extensions, although I mentioned it. We're going to end with extensions, and then we'll be at a little time for Q&A, and we'll wrap this up. So extensions, the way that Apple or Safari works with extensions is you have to download them through the App Store. So the easiest way of doing this, now I could open up the App Store and search for extensions, but what I like to do is go to my Safari settings, go to extensions, and you're going to see down at the bottom more extensions. What this will do is this will take you right to that aisle. So it's like going into a Walmart, or actually the App Store is more like a super Walmart, or super Kmart, whatever they are, just huge stores. You're going to be going to that App Store. If I just open up the App Store, I'm going to be fumbling all around looking for extensions. Well, when I click on this, it opens up the App Store and takes me right to Safari extensions. So it's kind of like having that concierge. Let's just pretend that Walmart had a concierge. I'm looking at this, that, and the other. Okay, well, this is where you need to go, and they just take you right there. Here's the aisle. Here's everything that you're looking for. So by clicking on that, that's what I get. So now what I'm able to do is, download these extensions. So you can see we have a number of different extensions in here. Not anything like Chrome extensions. Apple is trying to get the developer community to create more extensions. They made it easier to convert a Chrome extension to Safari. They are actively trying to do that, but it still just has not caught on. Now, this isn't all of them. You're going to see I can, see all, and now I can see more of them. So, it's not, that first screen doesn't necessarily, you could look at this and be like, that's it. No, that's not it. We can go here. This is all the free apps, and here are all the top paid apps. So I'm just going to go to the free ones here. So from here, what I'm able to do is download. Here's 1Password, so I could download it from the App Store. Let's go with AdBlock. I never have any luck with these, but let's just kind of see what it does. All I have to do is just go get, install. This does have in-app purchase. I'm not going to purchase it. Let's see here. And yes, let's use Touch ID. So I don't have to enter that in there. So now it's downloading that extension. And when you download an extension, it is an application. In the Apple world, this is another application. So guess what I'm going to see in my applications folder? AdBlock. So let's go over to my applications folder. And there it is. So an extension in Apple's, in Safari's world, is it's an application. So now, when I go over to my preferences here, there's my ad block. So now what I'm able to do is turn this on, and when you turn it on, I want to make sure I'm not buying anything here. You want to turn on extension? Yep. When you turn it on, this is where you can have the different settings. So you can see what it does here, the permissions and all that. So basically, depending on what extension you use, you're going to find your different settings in here. All right, let's just see how this works. We're going to go to Yahoo. We know that there's ads over there, right? And let's go with this one here. I've still got a few ads in there, but I think there's supposed to be an ad in here and an ad here. Now what I'm able to do is turn this off, just like that. And if I refresh, let's see if it added any. Yeah, that's what I get. Ad blockers. They're those marketers are pretty smart. I can actually have a pop-up, and on my site, if I used a pop-up that would say, "Hey, this person is using an ad blocker," and I can do something else. I mean, marketers are pretty smart with this kind of stuff. So these ad blockers are always changing. But anyway, that's how extensions work. They add them as an application, and then from here, let's go and open up that application and see if there's more settings. Being that it is an application, so maybe I didn't have enable in Safari. So I might have not even had it on. I had to open up that application. Enable. Oh, yep, just takes me there. So that's how extensions work. If you want to remove them, again, all you have to do is just go to your preferences or settings, go to extensions, and then you can go and uninstall it. Basically, I would just uninstall it here. That's open. I can't do it because it's open, but you would just drag it to the trash, restart your computer, and then that extension will be far less invasive than what some Chrome extensions can get pretty woven into your browsing experience and actually cause damage. So, that's an advantage of Safari, but it's also a disadvantage because we don't have a lot of extensions either. Even the good ones, they just stay away from it. All right. That is a wrap-up. So this is where I can get into Q&A, and we can continue on for another 10, 15 minutes. We'll go till 6:30, and we'll call it a day. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I did. I had my hand up.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. When you were back at the reader view, up at the top in the menu bar, you're looking at an article, news article, webpage. Okay. What's that little circle with the plus to the right of the reader mode?
That adds it. That's another way of adding. It's actually the way that I usually add an article to the reading list. You're going to see, I can't, when I move my cursor over top of it, if we look over to the right where it says Auto's Yahoo here, watch what happens. It turns into, I can't move my cursor there, but it says add. So I click on that. It just added it to the reading list. So that's another way of adding it to the reading list.
Okay, because I accidentally had done that times, and I thought, where'd it go? I had no idea.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, you can long click on this and get to other settings in here for that particular site. So, good. Any other questions? It could be about anything. So.
Dan, you said you were going to do some kind of a show a trick you found.
What's that?
You said you were going to...
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So this is something else that I use on a regular basis. And let's just see how I did use it. So I'm going to go to Wiki. And this is WebKit. I search for WebKit. So here it is. And basically, I'm going to take it out of reader mode here. So basically, this tells me everything about reader mode. So I got an article. Actually, I used ChatGPT. As many of you know, I use that. And it said that Chrome was a fork of WebKit. And I'm like, I don't remember that. That's interesting. But then I also remember that sometimes GPT is not necessarily the most factual. So you always kind of have to fact check it. So I'm like, this is how I'm going to fact check it. So I'm at the web page here, and instead of skimming through here and looking for Chrome or fork, for those of you who don't know what fork is, when you're coding, what you can do is you can separate you can fork it out and build a completely separate, think of a fork, separate app based on the same kind of code kind of thing, a very crude version of a definition. But anyway, what I wanted to do was see if Chrome is a fork in here. I don't want to read through all this. This gets pretty geeky and all that. But if you go Command F for find, so I go Command F, you're going to see in the upper right-hand corner, apparently I was searching for Steve. Sorry, Steve. I'll go there. And what I did earlier is I searched for, let's just search for Chrome first. Oops, I got to spell it right. And now look what happened on that page. There's Chrome. Okay, well, this isn't where I want to see it. I can keep going up. Oh, there it is. So I can see every time that it's mentioned. I can actually see that it's been mentioned 16 times. Well, that's still pretty broad. Let's just see if we can search for fork. That's the term that they used. WebKit started as a fork of KHTML. Yep, I knew that. And we can keep going here, following open source, WebKit 2, ports, Blink fork, forking by Google. And there it is. Chrome's developers decided on the fork to allow greater freedom in implementing the web core. So that is how I confirmed that without actually having to read anything. This is something that I use regularly. It's much easier than searching. I don't know. It's just easy. So I could go. Let's see here. I want to know what the story is with Green Bay Packers quarter. We'll just go wiki, right? So we're going to look at our wiki for Green Bay Packers. A lot of information in here, but I want to find out about Aaron Rodgers. I could sit here and search and search and search. Command F. 28 matches. And now here's the thing. This first one here is yellow, right? If I just hit the return key, so I'll show you my overview here. I'm just going to hit the return key here. What it does is it goes to the next search. So there, that one is yellow. Now I'll go back to my close-up here. So it's just going through there. So I could sit here and go through all of them until I find the little piece of information that I may be looking for. So you just hit here, hit return. Once it gets to the bottom, so you can see I'm at 16 of 26 matches. It keeps that updated. What it'll do is it'll go to the top, and now I'm back at 1. So it just rotates through that. So that little search within a web page is something that, and they all do it. Chrome does it. I'm sure they all do it. But it certainly makes it easy to find something if you kind of know what you're looking for, because these web pages are getting, they could be lengthy like wiki, or they could have a little bit in them. And especially in today's world, the way that articles are written, there's not Tesla in particular, there's a lot of Tesla websites out there that are horrible at this. They would be like Tesla added a new feature. So you go, and it could be a 1,000-page article, and it's completely written for search engines. And the last nugget where they're talking about the new feature is in the last 200 words. We've all seen articles like this. So you have to skim through it. So what I can do is I can go and type in here, new feature, and hopefully what it'll do is it'll take me a little closer to where I want to go. Especially, like I said, especially in today's world, articles are not written like what they were in the past. They're written for search engines, not necessarily for humans. So, they kind of jumbled how things are formatted. And they add that the real information used to be at the top. Now it's at the bottom because they want you to read that pages and see all the ads and all that kind of stuff. So, so search comes in really handy for that. So that's how I use that. That's my little tip that I use on a daily basis. So.
Does that search bar up there, does that show up automatically, or does it only do it when you do Command F?
Only does it when you do Command F. So if I click on Done here.
Okay, so if I'm going to a web page and I look for it and I don't find it,
Nope.
I have to do Command F.
Command F, or I might be under find right there. So yeah, Command F. That's the easiest way.
Okay.
Any other
Because-
questions?
Because sometimes I've tried to look on the page, well, where is the search box?
Right.
And now I had to do Command F.
Yeah.
To set it up.
Oh yeah. 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 All right. Anything else?
Did you get to Deborah?
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Deborah.
No, I was just going to ask. I know that Safari doesn't have many extensions that they allow. How do you know one way or another whether they're safe or not?
Well, they're good. They have to be approved by Apple. So that's if there's an extension for Safari and you get it through the App Store, don't necessarily have to get it through the App Store, but if you get it through the App Store, which is traditional, then it's safe. It did go through Apple's review process. Now, saying that some stuff has gotten through them, their review process is not is known to be not the best, but it's better than anything else. No one else is doing what Apple is doing. But so for the most part, it'll be safe.
Thank you.
And the nice thing is, this is the problem with some of those other Chrome extensions and things like that. The way that they install, they can get very difficult to uninstall it in some cases. Not so much anymore, but it used to be really, really bad. With Apple, just how they're doing it, how that is built, all you have to do is just throw that app away, throw it in the trash, restart your computer, and it's gone. I mean, really simple to uninstall. So.
I don't know if you have a page handy that would show this, but there are, when you go to a site that offers you video, you have to access the picture-in-picture in Safari up in the tab itself, correct?
Yeah, it's to use picture-in-picture.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to YouTube. YouTube would be part of that, right? Although I know, yeah, they're kind of.
I already checked YouTube, and YouTube is proprietary. Doesn't offer that in the tab in the web browser. You have to click on their own button.
Oh, yeah,
Use the mini player.
yeah. Maybe I use Vimeo, so let's just for fun see what I have here.
For example, I've got a friend that does the play-by-play for a minor league baseball team. When I go to that minor league baseball team's site to watch the game and listen to his play-by-play, that's how I access picture-in-picture up in the tab itself in Safari. So it may be site to site, but I know that when video is offered, I was just going to see if you could show me.
No, I'm not real.
Where you click.
Yeah, not real familiar with that. So
It would be in the tab, in the URL box, off to the right on the three dots. You would find the command in the URL box to the right where the three dots show, if there are any shown.
there's no three dots.
Yeah, so on your site, no. And
Yeah.
WordPress probably doesn't
Yeah.
do it either. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Strikeout. Swinging. Okay, in the chat, have you read, I'm in the research phase in this, the Opera web browser for iOS.
Oh, they offer
So
free
offering
VPN.
Free VPN.
Okay. All right.
If anybody that
Interesting.
tries it, let me down the road. Let me know what you think.
Yeah. And again, being that's iOS, Opera is using WebKit. They aren't using Chrome. On the Mac, it would be using Chrome, but being that that's iOS, it is using WebKit, at least for now.
You can go.
All right. Let's call that a wrap then. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully, you learned a few things. And again, thanks for your support. And we will see you next week.
It was really helpful. Thanks.
Good. Glad to hear it.
There's a lot of little things I didn't know about or whatever.
A lot of little,
That's
there's,
opening my eyes.
yeah. And I like I say, I have to clarify that, Chrome and all that probably have a lot of the same features, but I just know where they are in Safari. It's what I use. And I have no problem with Safari outside of my little thing with YouTube because I need to have a couple of extensions in there. So I do have YouTube operating in the back on my production computer. I'm sorry, I do have Chrome. I'd use Chrome. I should switch to Edge. I do like Microsoft Edge. Their Bing integration is actually quite, with ChatGPT, is quite something, but that's another topic. So, yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop recording here.